Hey guys, how's it going? Um, so we don't have any technical difficulties or anything like that. I just wanted to go ahead and say hello and welcome to a new podcast. Ahead of time, I wanted to admit to everybody that I am new at this, but I've been doing some training on it and obviously learning how to build it so I can be in full control over everything. How's it going, man? I'm definitely not as good as John was or some other people that are really awesome at podcasting, but I'll get there. We got to start here. It's either Sarah or Kyle. Hey, Sarah, Kyle, how's it going? So anyway, going into it, I kind of wanted to go over, how's it going, man? What we're going to be looking forward to in this episode and many of the lives. I had this idea for a roundtable, and so the roundtable basically what it's going to be doing is mixing in different people from the hobbies. I'm not going to play favorites or do anything like that. What I'm going to do is reach out to a lot of different people. I don't care what country, I don't care what area of the hobby you're in. If you just got in, you feel like you're not, you know, oh, I'm not as good as that guy. Well, neither am I. I mean, it's whatever it is. It's going to be a collection of things, and I'd like to do as many roundtables as I can. On here, you'll also see every now and then that I'll post some live interviews. Those are going to be something that are going to be optional for pre-recording. Pre-recording is one thing, but then obviously you can go live with them as well. Um, and I may do some of those sometimes. So expect me to reach out to you. Expect me to ask you to come on here. It won't be the same people every time. I'll be the common denominator. So that being said, I wanted to go over a couple of things. Obviously, we want to interact with the audience and make you guys feel special. And thank you so much for whoever's here already, and who's going to be on and who's going to be watching. My goal is to share positive but also truthful information. And you have to keep in mind that sometimes that information is subjective. What does that mean? It means that you might not agree with me, but that doesn't make me wrong, and it definitely doesn't make you wrong. If you need to sidebar me later and say, hey, man, I wanted to discuss this with you, I'm totally always open for that. What I don't want to see is any sort of just, shit talking in the comments and bullying of other people. We're all friends here. We all have the same objective. And anybody who doesn't, we all know who you are. We talk about you. We know who you are. We steer clear of your stores, and we are, pretty much just leave that alone. But that being said, I'm in it for the long haul. I don't know about a lot of you. Some people are always getting in and out. I think that's really cool when people transition into new things, better things. But at the same time, I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to be around for a very long time. I'm going to be focused on one reptile, and that's, you know, what I'm going to be doing. To give you an idea, today we have Jennifer Howell over at Surfside Geckos. She's going to be monitoring the chat. Adam just said get mods for the chat. He actually triggered me to remind you guys of that. So she'll be monitoring the chat. She won't be up on screen or part of the roundtable, but there will be moments where we switch over. And that switch is going to be basically so that we can discuss some of the things that you talk about. Um, Now, everybody, when we're doing the roundtable, this is a discussion between Matt, Josiah, and I. I met Josiah when I went out to Florida. I had talked to him on the phone a few times, but there's nothing like meeting somebody for the first time and getting to know them a little bit and having some chats. I met Jen also. I went out to Florida. I just basically spent a day walking around the show. I met up with some really cool people. Hey, Peter, how's it going? Hey, everybody. Um, and I wanted to get these guys involved with my first episode, and we all know Matt. I met Matt last year. I think I kind of knew. I've always known about Matt, obviously, and a couple other people that we've had around for a very long time, influencing and inspiring us. And Matt was one of those guys that if you ever, I did get out of the hobby once, and for me, as soon as I got back, I had never met Matt or talked to him before, and what I did was I grabbed his videos, I refreshed myself on as much as I can, then I grabbed a bunch of other videos. But I know I started right there with SaSobek Reptiles. A lot of us do that. We share those with each other. If people ask me questions, I know right where the videos are to share them. So I flew out to, like I said, Florida. That's where I met Jennifer. I met Josiah. I met Matt in person. We had a pretty cool time. Come to the Toronto Expo. I would love to do that. I've been to Canada a handful of times. It's actually a really cool place. I will do everything I can to stay as non-political as possible with some things. Obviously, words slip out and stuff like that. Don't hate. It's fine what you think and what I think. We're allowed to do those things. Um, the podcast here is going to be, like I said, roundtables. It's going to be about, positivity, mixing in with each other, friendship, things like that. I really want to give it that sort of a feel, that sort of a name. And I want to talk, a couple of quick topics, leopard geckos, keep you guys entertained, and have a place that we can all hang out. I may change the time frames. That's actually a idea we're kicking around. I may not always go on, Fridays at 5. I know that Denise may be doing Inside the Hide again here and there. I haven't heard her say that she's not going to. If this is going to be her time frame, I'm not going to hop on there. Um, Man, the heart section blew up the second I said Inside the Hide. And then obviously I know John Hogston still does another podcast. He just started another one that's completely unrelated to reptiles, and I watch it. It's one of those just fun hanging out with him sometimes. There's that. I really, that being said, I just wanted to, let you guys know that Matt is a little bit delayed. He's got a show tomorrow, so he drove to Orlando. He's checking into his hotel right now, and he'll probably be hopping on when he hops on. But without further ado, man, we're at the 15-minute mark. So what I want to do is I want to get over into the roundtable. So I'm going to have Josiah and Matt hop on as soon as they can, and we'll get in there. For now, if you notice here up on screen, I actually have Discord open. I know you guys hear me talk about that a lot. And so during certain segments, I'll have a screen popped up, but you can type here if you can find the channel. The channel is called Geckoverse. It's under the category of social media. And you can see there I wrote the word type. So it literally goes right up on the screen right now, but we're obviously also reading from YouTube. If I can find YouTube. Okay. So going forward, I'm going to go ahead and bring on the screen set. I got to find where I had. If you'll give me a moment, just indulge me. Keep in mind that I am new at this. I'm not claiming to be a pro or anything like that. And I'm going to get on the comment section here so that I see what you guys are saying. All right, there we go. We are up to date here. All right, who do we got on here? I got John over at Evergreen. It looks like Kyle's on. He says she is next to my table. I'm assuming that means that Sarah. Next time Kyle and I are in Atlanta, we will hit you up. They're talking to somebody else there. Obviously, we have Alabama in the house. That's going to be Derek. He's over at These Gex. We got Peter. That means we are international now. Thanks, Peter. We got a guy on from England. He's actually from Florida, if I'm not mistaken. Peter, are you from Florida? I know you live out there now. Get the likes up. Yeah, get the likes up. If I'm being honest, I don't even know how to check how you do that. Oh, here it is. It's eight likes. Super. I don't know how to see how many people are on. I don't know any of that stuff. I'll learn it later. All right. So we're going to be transitioning to the screen. If anybody has any questions before we get started about stuff, if we are not accessing or, going over, let's see. He's from Miami, Florida, Peter, but he lives in Leeds in the UK right now. So if we're not answering the comments immediately, keep in mind a roundtable is a discussion between us. We're doing, basically a roundtable discussion between me, Matt, and Josiah. And we have Jen. She's going to be, triggering my phone anytime I need to answer something. Yeah, of course, Clint. No problem. I got 19 on. Thank you. How do you know that? That's crazy. Good for me. Clint's going to be inundated with extra geckos here in a minute. Oh, shit. I don't think I was supposed to do that. Water. Matt literally warned me on that. All right, Josiah, if you're around, let's go ahead and hop on screen. There he is. All right, guys. So we are on. Like I said, Matt's checking into a hotel room. He's going to be here in just a minute. So give him a moment to get in with the rest of us, and I'm going to start throwing cue cards as I read them into the trash, so I don't read them again. How you doing, Josiah?
Good. How you doing, man?
Doing good, buddy.
Hear me okay?
I was going to have you introduce yourself if you got a minute. Tell everybody, a little
I
bit.
gotta go.
What's that?
Said I gotta go. I got a minute.
There you go.
Name's Josiah. I live down in Florida. Got my. I mean, if we go way back, obviously as a teenager, I had bearded dragons. That was what I started with. That was actually the first reptile I bred. My dad kind of helped me out with that. I was probably like 14 or so. That was quite complicated for a young kid to do bearded dragons. I think I had something like 70 or 80 babies. Yeah, it was terrible. I had like 4 clutches of like 20 eggs. It was fun. It was a good experience. And then I was probably 16 or so when I got into the leopard geckos. I did that for probably like 2 years, and then obviously as a teenager, kind of developed into the workforce and stuff. So I did that. And then in 2019, I bought my first pair of leopard geckos to breed from Nick Pupo, and he's also here in Florida. Let Go My Gecko.
Yep. I know who that guy is. He's awesome.
Yeah. He mostly does tangerine stuff. His fat tails are out of this world. So if anybody's into fat tails, you should check them out for that. Let's see. So 2019, bought the reptiles, started breeding the leopard geckos. Kind of was a little bit on an island there, kind of breeding leopard geckos for a few years. I got into some other projects that I imagine we'll probably bring up at some point here. And then in 22, Matt was down here in Florida at the Reptile Expo in Daytona. And I was at Nick's table, and he walked over there to talk to him. That's how I ended up meeting Matt through conversation. Found out that he actually was moving to my city. So we kind of got close through that. And then last year, I think he convinced you to come to the Florida show. I don't know if it was him or not.
Yeah, that was a big undertaking, and it was a whole thing. I can go into it in a minute. I don't want to interrupt you though.
No stress. So that's when I linked up with Joe, and then met Jennifer during that same time period. So we got to hang out for the weekend, speak out about the leopard geckos, and then obviously develop friendships from there. So that's the Cliff Notes version of everything.
There you go. What size breeder would you say that you are?
I don't even know what are the metrics on that. Let's see. So I have 20 females in some of my racks that were purchased.
Okay.
I have more females than that I've purchased and bred, but as far as ones that I'm still keeping and breeding, I have 20 of those. So that kind of gets you an area of like what I've purchased as far as females. I did 240 babies last year.
Wow. That is right around where I was. How many did you pair, would you say, last year? Like all 20 probably, or well,
definitely all 20 of those females specifically have all been proven and had babies. That's part of the reason why they're in those racks specifically, is because they've all produced well. That's kind of why some of those other females and males aren't in there for various reasons, whether they didn't produce well in the first year or two. So those ones did pretty well. I would say probably something like 35 pairings if I was guessing. Okay. I don't keep track of that necessarily.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I do. I keep track of a lot of stuff. I pair about 20 a year. But something a little different is I keep I want to say I keep about 160 animals. I keep them well. You know, I hardly ever have any issues. We all have issues, obviously, in the hobby, and I'm sure we'll get into those at some point. But yeah, I keep about 150 to 160 animals at all times. And the reason that I do that, though, is because obviously when you're working with certain things and you don't know what you want to do with it yet, you also don't want it to disappear. And that's a big thing in the hobby. I don't know if you've ever noticed, like, you'll need something and all of a sudden it's just not available. And then suddenly it's not available anymore. So then you're emailing and reaching out to everybody, and but so I keep some animals that are just basically they're pets. I could breed them in the future if I want to put them into a project or something like that. But I don't pair that many. They're just well taken care of. So I pair about 20. Last year I think we did 26. So, but I like to stick around 20 just because that's a big number of babies and a lot of work.
Yeah.
You have a full time job.
So one of the things, well, two reasons I'm doing this. One reason is I don't think I have the I hate using the word bandwidth, but bandwidth to
I was just
to
thinking that
deal with
word.
all to deal with all the leopard geckos plus the other things that I have going on. So I'm not going to pair as many this year as I did last year. So
Really?
I'm hoping to do like half of what I did last year, and I'm pretty much sticking to that because I've already have females that have started ovulating, and I've just left them. I'm not going to
Yeah.
try to breed them.
Now, have
So
you started any pairings yet?
oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. How many would
Yeah,
you
yeah.
say
I
you
have
have?
at least three right now that have males with them right now. Um, I never lost eggs in the incubator. I still have never shut it
Oh,
off.
that's awesome.
I had eggs the whole time. I went down to like three eggs were left in there when females started ovulating, and then by the time they started laying eggs, at no point have I had eggs out of the incubator. But I'm gonna pretty much stick to the 20 or so females that I purchased over the last few years, and just rebreed those because a lot of those are going to be all phased out. So I'm just trying to kind of collect genetics from them to kind of like finalize them.
Okay.
They're probably not going to go back into rotation, so that kind of just beefs up my holdback stock, which I probably have right around 100 animals that I kept from last year. That regardless of size or anything, I don't think I'm going to breed them. I think I'm just going to let them grow out another year, focus on the females and stuff that I did purchase in previous years, to for the two reasons to keep the amount that I'm producing lower, and then also just kind of keep the genetics that everything was founded on, and find more animals from them before I phase them out.
I gotcha. Yeah. Incubation is one of those things. We were running pretty smooth. I noticed. Hey, Scott, how you doing, man? Uh, we were running pretty smooth on incubation, and then I noticed some temperature fluctuations. And no matter what I did, they were external to the incubator, obviously. But it was no matter what I did, man. It's like I couldn't get um, those fluctuations to not happen. I ended up having to move rooms, and eventually, I just kind of decided personally because I do ventilation. It's part of what I do in air conditioning, and I was like, you know what, this room is just warmer than that room, so I moved them into the other room. I had a little bit of an easier time there, and then everything that hadn't been hatched already, I had to write down notes and just take off, the TSM, the I don't know, TSF, things like that. Um,
What
at that point, I feel like you don't know, but go ahead.
I was gonna ask what thermostat you were using and what incubator.
The Vivarium Electronics, and I use the ones that I got from Sea Serpents. I went all out when I went into this. I invested. Uh, I just grabbed my credit card and said, you know what? If I'm doing this, I'm going to do it right. I'm going to do this on the screen. Sorry. And then I bought like two big 5 foot tall incubators, one for females, one for males, and I have full intentions of one day filling those up. But for now, it's just like I was using that, but it's a pretty big space. So this year, I actually bought, and I'm staring at it, but obviously it's too big to bring on screen. But it's an Edge Star wine cooler, and it has two different sides. The drawers open forward. they close, they seal, and they have their own individual insulated sections with pull-out drawers, which is sick. Um, that one, I put heat tape, like rack tape, and I ran that in there. It has each side has two fans, one on the top, one on the bottom, because it's coffin shaped, and I want it to circulate air. And I'm going to be using something smaller this time around. I'm going to be keeping it in an air conditioned space, but it's so little that I don't think it'll end up being a problem. And I'm going to try it out that way. I actually ordered a brand new thermostat. It's dual zoned. That's going to come in on there. He made it. How's it going, Matt?
What's up, guy?
Oh, we're just talking incubation. I guess I should probably give you a second to introduce yourself and talk about what you got going on.
Actually, I mean, I think we're good. I think most people would know who the hell I am. I think.
Like 6 people who don't know you.
Yeah. So, yeah, I met these two characters actually at Daytona 2 different years. I mean, well, in person. I definitely met Joe well before that online and stuff. But yeah, that's. And then we talk a lot, and it's definitely a cool thing that we're doing this roundtable and podcast, and can't wait to be more part of it going forward. I'm turning this light off behind me because this is annoying.
Yeah, you're good. So, question then: so a lot of conversations, obviously, I can remember some of mine. I'm going to put you on the spot. What would you say your best or favorite moment meeting Josiah? Like, what is there something that you kind of like about him as a breeder and how he does things?
Well, as
shit, man.
started me off there on, I could have went down a rabbit hole, but no, Josiah's a great guy. Became good friends with him. Literally, we live like 5 miles from each other, I think. So that's actually pretty awesome. We've both been to each other's places to see each other's animals, and it's he's always fun to be around and to go hang out at shows and stuff like that. I need to get him going to more shows, but I think eventually he'll start doing that. And unfortunately, that's why I was a little bit late today. Had to drop off the animals at the expo. So I left my house at 2:00 today, and now it's 7:30.
Mm-hmm.
Drove 3.5 hours to where the show was, and then dropped the animals off there. And typically, it only takes like half an hour to get to this hotel from the site, and took a little bit longer because of traffic. Welcome to Orlando. So
yeah.
Sorry I'm a little bit late, but let's get to it.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about Josiah was just that he hung out. Literally, we were doing stuff the entire day, and he had no plans on me being there in Florida when I went. But he was hanging out with you, and he just made it a point to be around me. He knew I was out of town, and he went places with me, and it was really cool. I wasn't there necessarily for him, but I knew I was going to run into him, and then he was like, "Well, you're out of town, so I'm just going to donate my time to you." And we hung out and did stuff together. We had that dinner, and I would say let's see, you go off on tangents when you're talking, and when you do that, you throw out so much information that I'll literally pull out my computer and start typing. And then there was just that one time I was like, "Are you fucking typing?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm embarrassed." But I literally could pull up documents of just things that you mentioned, because you're never just, it's not like I'm typing out a conversation. It's the information about reptiles that you give. People you talk about, who created what, how it went down. And that's probably one of my favorite moments was when I first met you and you called me out, like, "Are you typing?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm typing."
I'm a note.
Yeah. As for me, I was telling everybody I keep I think I keep about 150 to 160 animals. Most of them are pets. I want to not have to look for certain genetics in the future, so I keep them as pets. And then I breed about 20-ish a year. So I think Josiah breeds just a few more than me. And then What about you? How many animals do you keep at this
Um,
point?
you ever see that meme that says I have as many reptiles as I have?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty close to that. It I do know that I produced a little over 1,000 babies last year.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
I've never even been in a room with that many.
yeah.
It's insane.
Shells, just because that was my goal, was to hit 1,000, just to see, because I've never counted before. Like, I've kept eggshells and stuff like that, but I've never counted to see actually how many I produced in a single year, especially back whenever I was doing it full time. So honestly, I have no clue how many I was producing back then. I
Okay.
knew it was a certain amount that, and basically the amount of racks that I had, was a perfect amount if I had them, like two per tub or whatever, and that, usually I could, um, you know keep back what I wanted, and then, sell the rest pretty easily throughout the whole year. Um, this year, because of economic stuff, like, it's a little bit of a harder sell. But that just is what it is. But I think that by the time, 2024 babies will be ready, it'll work out pretty good, I think. And that's going to a lot of shows, and selling stuff. Some stuff goes wholesale. Um, but I do know that I did collect eggs for the first time this week, and I collected 60. And that
60
was just,
already?
yeah, that was first round. So, and as I was going through, I was like, oh shit, she's ovulating and she's ovulating. Like, it was funny because Josiah, like a couple weeks ago, was like, dude, you better check to make sure your stuff's ovulating, because like it's ovulating early this year. And I'm like, all right, yeah, whatever. It's like usually February, March. And then I was like, fuck, I forgot that, I moved to Florida and we don't have a winter down here. It
Yeah.
lasts about, so, it definitely, is ramping up very, very quickly. And usually, once one female goes,
We lost Matt.
I'll
We'll be
fill in the
back,
void.
guys.
I'll fill in the void. It was like mid-December. My first females started ovulating, which is totally bizarre. Usually it's March,
Okay.
and that was the first time we had talked about it, about females ovulating. I was like, yeah, might as well start checking, and then by now, like, it's actually kind of crazy. It's kind of reminded me of what it looks like in late February, as far as like females ovulating. Like, I'm getting a lot right now.
Yeah. So, one of the things that I know that we wanted to talk about too is what breeding entails. Matt had brought that up before when we talked a few days ago. What with you, Matt? How 60? So you collected 60 eggs. That's got to be, of course, 30 females. How many would you say you think you paired? It's got to be that many, right?
that many.
Yeah.
Um, it's probably a good size number at this point.
Do you put a male in and leave them overnight, or how do you think? How would you say what does your breeding entail?
okay, so basically, right now I've got. Let me figure this out in my head real quick. 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. I have 18 racks, that are for my adults. I've got 4 of those 18, are the 15 quart tubs that get 24 tubs per, rack, and then the other ones are 12 quart tubs that they're 12 tubs per rack.
Okay.
So right now I've got 10 racks that have, most of them have two geckos per tub, and they're usually sisters, but some of them have single animals in those. The other 4 adult racks are about half full. And then the 4 racks that have the 15 quart tubs are pretty much all full of females as well. So whoever has a calculator and can do pretty much like 18 times 12 times 2 is probably the amount of females that I have.
Okay.
Ish. It might be slightly less.
Yeah, it's 432.
432. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt. Yeah. So, and a lot of my breeding is, like the braiding style that I do. So this year there's going to be a lot of uh, sons that will go back to their mothers, sons and sisters, or sons and sisters together. Grandfathers back to daughters. So there's a lot of crossing back and forth, and then there's also some new crosses that will be starting to get more combinations together. Yeah, so there's going to be quite a bit involved, and every year it just compounds on itself. I would say there's probably going to be, I would say 400 females might be bred this year, but I, that's an estimate,
Yeah.
and not all of them are going to be for high end things. I do breed some just for wholesale, and the good part about all the polygenetic stuff is that whenever you
Oh, it's gonna be fun.
Wi-Fi, man.
Yeah, I know. That's a hotel Wi-Fi. You know what? I'm gonna take a second then, and see if Jen wants to just come on and say hi. Matt will be back on in a second here. With that hotel Wi-Fi, man.
I'm not even on hotel Wi-Fi, so I don't even know what the heck's going on. But yeah, with those 400, that's not 400 females that the babies will ever go to market, if that makes sense. Because of the polygeneticness of it, I can breed a male that doesn't go well with it and produce normalish type babies. So yeah.
Right on. And sorry, I don't know if I didn't catch it or what. Do you put your males in obviously overnight? Do they go for a little while, or how would you say you do yours?
Okay, so I was actually talking to a friend about this the other day. I have let's say these. I actually have 2 rooms going right now. So I've got 10 racks in one room, and then
Okay.
the other room. And basically, what I do is males that go with certain females. Those females are actually spread out almost every 4 racks ish, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So what I do is I do about 4 racks a day cleaning, and then they will go that let's say the clown male, he'll go to a tub in one of these 4 racks over here. The next day I do another 4 racks. He'll move to that 4 racks, and
Okay.
then so on and so forth. And then my days off, just wherever he got left off, that's where he stays.
Okay.
So it's kind of interesting that all of the females that would be bred to a specific male aren't actually in racks close to each other, and I find that's just easier, because as you're cleaning you can move the male,
Yeah.
and then he actually
This is fun.
Must be the platform.
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna do this then. We're gonna grab Jen on here real quick. Just kind of throw her in and say hey. Let her say hi to everybody. Hey Jen,
Hey guys,
how you doing?
I'm good. Just
No,
watching
So,
the
Matt's having
comments
real quick
here.
to
trouble.
replace
I
Matt.
figured I would spare him the minute he needs to figure out his phone and stuff like that.
Fix him up there,
Yeah.
or Matt.
It'll be all right.
Dragonheart.
Yeah. So, who do you know? Tell us about you.
About
Jen's
me?
Jen's monitoring
Let's
the
put your minds
comments.
together.
Just
Gotta
doing-
put me on the spot here.
yeah.
Kind of don't think for that.
Oh. Your mic's crackling.
It's probably my AirPods,
Yeah,
honestly.
it's got to be the AirPods.
Killer. All right, let me try to take them out.
There you go. So, how long have you been breeding, Jen? Are you able to hear me?
Can you
I
hear
know.
me?
I can. Yeah, now I can. There
Okay,
you are.
it just took a second. So obviously, as you told everybody, we all kind of met in Daytona.
Yeah.
I think we pretty much talked you into coming, Josiah. I think we're pretty much on the same side there. We talked Joe into coming.
Yeah.
So, and Matt, I see Matt all the time. Met Matt at a show. I don't even know how long ago at this point. So I make it a point to peek in and say hi when I can. I never see Josiah, so I agree. Josiah needs to do some more shows here, for sure.
Yeah.
Never see you. Yep.
I'm hard, man. It's hard to get me out of my hole.
I know. And you guys aren't that far from me.
I
I'm
sold
only
enough animals that I have enough rack space, and I like settled down. I was like, oh, this is good. I have rack space again, so I guess I don't need to worry.
yeah. Well, that's true. That's true. But you're only like both of you are an hour and a half, 2 hours from me.
Yeah,
so.
you're real close. You're
Yeah,
real close.
I would drive for sure.
Yeah, I like your area of Florida better than mine, but
Do you?
I do actually. Yeah,
I don't
yeah, I
know.
go up there for day trips. So you
I
probably come
know.
down for day trips.
Yeah, you said you come up to the Sarasota area, not.
Yeah, I like it up there. Yeah, it's a good day trip for us, anyways.
Yeah. Well, I got into geckos years ago, but then got out. So I had my first 2 leopard geckos when I was a teenager. I worked in a exotic pet store. We had one here in Bradenton, where I live. And then my kids kind of got me back into the leopard geckos, and I kind of went a little crazy when I realized all the different morphs that were out there, and just the beautiful things that we can create. So I kind of decided with the kids that we wanted to do this together. So I have 2 teenagers. You guys have met one of them. You met my daughter at the show. So it's kind of a thing we started together, and we're excited what the future holds. So, and we've had 3 pairings so far. I don't have nearly as many as y'all. All right, shut up, Joe.
You don't need them.
Matt's already dropping eggs.
Plenty of time to breed more leopard geckos. Like, start slow.
Joe and I have been in competition, texting each other. Finally got a pairing. Finally got some ovulation. So I hear though here in Florida, Josiah, I hear a lot of people say because of our weather that they a lot of times will ovulate earlier, but I don't know how true that is. So
yeah, it's obviously some other metric that's making them ovulate because, at least in my opinion, anyways.
yeah.
Because like when does it stop getting hot here? Like September,
Never.
October. Like, well, I mean, like the absolute like piercing, like underneath the magnifying heat.
Probably October.
Yeah. So by the time any cool weather comes through, like I just find it odd. Like there's not really a lot of cool season for them to trigger the ovulation. So I don't know if it's barometric pressures and stuff like that, but it has been an odd winter for us too, with the amount of rain and stuff that we've been getting. So, but yeah. They ovulated like so. This is season 5 for me. This was the start of my season 5, and the first 4 seasons it wasn't until March where things really got going. And I think in the next 2 weeks they're going to be flying. Like they're going to be all ready. So I'm already kind of gearing up to spend more time in the rooms with the animals and start making a few more pairings. Well, not too many more, but because I think I already got 6 that are laying. So.
That's awesome. I'm hoping to have my incubator done in time. I have my my new thermostat with the dual zone showing up today because I'm building one. Like I said, I want to keep it in a tighter box. But
my thermostat costs more than my incubators. I have a $200 Vivarium Electronics thermostat.
You guys use incubators?
Huh?
You said you guys use incubators?
I know, dude. This guy's like putting stuff in actual shoes on his like rack, and it's like, hey, look, guys, look, more leopard geckos.
So
I'm coming out of his ear.
Look, regardless of how easy they are to incubate, I'm still gonna use incubators because they look cool, and I kind of like it. I like going to the incubator, lifting up. It's like a little gift you get to open up once a day.
You walk into your spaceship
I got
the
big thermostat on 2 like $40 Hovabators that I bought when I was like 12 years old. These are the ones that I produced my bearded dragons in when I was a teenager. I kept them all these years, and now I just have them hooked up to a better thermostat, and I have my leopard geckos.
I kind of did what Joe did. I have a old wine cooler I converted. So that's the main one I used last year, and then I bought the one that the Zoo Med makes, the Reptibator or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's what I started off with. Then I converted a big old wine cooler. So now I have those two that I'm going to use this year. But I won't fill either of them up.
My first one was it was just an ice chest. You'd open up the ice chest. There was a little platform in there, and underneath the platform was water. Underneath the platform was also one of those fish tank water heaters, and you could set it on the outside. And I kept a Wi-Fi just little thing in there that would trigger my phone if it went up or down. That honestly, once you close that, it's 100% humidity because obviously it's cycling, so you don't want to have big holes in the top of your whatever. That was a long time ago, though. Yeah, that was an awful long time ago. But that was my first one. I had probably built that in 2012, right before I got out the first time, because I started up in a very small way, and I had like maybe 10 to 12 geckos, and then I took a job in mining, and I was traveling everywhere. So when I was doing that, I didn't have time. My wife was like, "I'm not gonna keep taking care of your pets." I was like, "Honey, they're not pets. It's my hobby. I need your help here." So but she didn't understand, and that's fine. There was a lot of responsibility there. That was the time, whatever. I did everything wrong. I used well, I wouldn't call it wrong if they're pets, right? I did overhead lighting. I prefer belly heat now and keeping the right supplements standing. But breeding, for me, I don't like the risk. I have seen something horrific. I don't even know if I probably should talk about it on here, but it was I should talk about it on here.
Yeah, bring it on.
Yeah, I'm tired of fucking stupid secrets. Like,
yeah, right. So, all right,
like it'll be fine. Like,
yeah. So when I first got back in to leopard geckos, I remember it was like the end of 2019, and I didn't have any social media. Obviously, I hadn't been a part of it for a long time. It had been about 7 years or 6 years or something, and I grabbed a bunch of animals from right around here in the Phoenix area, and I didn't buy anything fancy. I reached out to John, and I asked him some questions. He answered those. I reached out to Matt, who I had never met before, but his information was available. So it took a minute, but I think he saw and responded. So, but anyway, I got some good advice, and basically, one of the first things that John said to me, and I was a stranger to him at the time, was if you're going to get back in now, start studying genetics again. Make sure that you're not just talking out of your ass. And he said, breed, morphs together. Don't worry about genetics right now. And he couldn't have been more right. I spent, oh my God, 2 years raising animals again and proving that I can improve on my racks. I built my first racks. I'm literally using some of that old heat tape to build this incubator that I'm building myself right now. And after that, I had no intention of doing any pairings until 2022, but my daughter, it was my daughter at the time, she was 3, and it's funny.
Yeah, blame the 3-year-old, man.
Good job. I put a gecko in her hand because she was always there, and I want to hold the animal, but then she never would. So I put the animal in her hand and said, "Hold this for a second," and just kind of nonchalantly turned around and was doing something else. And she sat here literally with her hand like this, just staring at her hand, like, "What in the hell is your deal, man? Get this off me." But after a minute, she realized that, it's going to be all right. The gecko doesn't bite, and that one is actually not allowed to leave the house, even though my animals and racks are not around here. Really quick, guys, just so you know, Matt's having a little bit of trouble with his. Obviously, you guys can see that, but he'll pop in and out, and hopefully he'll be able to stay on here in a minute. But we're keeping it going. But that being said, she was holding him, and she set him down in one of my pools. I have these little kiddie pools that I put them in with stuff to climb on, and it gets rid of like that underarm fat if I overfeed or whatever. It's an exercise box, right? I sanitize it. I do it. It's my own little thing. It's my hobby. I want to, innovate it. I will. And I do. I put them in there. I let them climb around. Obviously, I don't put males and females together, and I try not to put too many females in there at a time. But when you have so many and you want to give them all the same exercise opportunities, you do that. With the move I just had, I actually haven't done it in a while. Kind of ashamed of myself, but she went ahead and set him down in there with one of the females, and then 3 years old daddy, they're wrestling. And so I look over and I'm like, oh, so it was, quick to an incubator on Amazon. I'm just going to throw them in one and see what happens. And I created some really random in 2021, and then 22 is what I consider my first breeding season as I've been back, but it was also my third year. And then 23, and now I'm going into my third real breeding season. I track everything. I literally have something on my phone that'll pull up and tell you how weight's fluctuating on a chart. I track every move they make. I love data. I don't know why I do, but I'm going to try to pull this up so you can see it. I don't know that you will be able to, so I'll make it big. But this is just an example of Joe. If you can see that right there, okay, that is a tub with a little camera in there that wasn't too expensive. It's live to my phone. And there's like a glass wall where the camera's on one side so the geckos can't access it. And then they're on the other side. And I literally will put them in the tub. That's how I pair. And I watch them. They can't go through the glass wall. And I make sure that they don't fight. Because, obviously if they're ovulating, that doesn't mean they're going to pair. And the reason that I do that, because it's a little weird, and I've been, had some people have an opinion on it, like, dude, what are you filming geckos? And I'm like, no, I had a really expensive, really cool animal. It was a blood tangerine I had gotten. It was just really bright, bright, bright red. I loved her. She would not ever pair to anybody, but she didn't act like a hot female. So I thought, okay, I've had her for 3 years now. She will not pair to anybody. So I thought, all right, I'm going to pair her to a male that's a tiny bit bigger than her, but docile. Somebody I knew that I had that was really docile and really cool. And maybe the size difference will make the difference. And so I was really excited, and I was like, all right, I'm going to put them together. So I put him in there. He obviously, the tail wag, and I didn't have my camera set up with my glass wall in there and all that. And I just kind of was able to look over to the right, and I was looking in there, and I could see that he was trying to pair with her. And then they got into a little fight, tiny one, enough to where she was basically saying, I don't want to pair. So I was going to go reach and get him out of there. I opened up the box, and when I did, she decided to charge him. He had given up, like she warned him. He walked away from her. He's very docile, not mean at all. I mean, he's just sits there kind of like, hey, how's it going? Whatever. And she charged him and attacked him. And the fight that happened with them, I mean, they were bouncing around. It was insane how they moved. I couldn't see that fast. And so I could not figure out how to separate them. And then the fight was just over. He had at one point got a hold of her and threw her to the other side of the thing, and he had her entire arm in his mouth. And so we lost her that day. And she, like I said, wasn't a hot female. She never bit me. She was never rude. She was a good whatever. And she was full on ovulating, 2 bright pink spots. And so I lost her that way. But it's something I don't like talking about because it sucked. And then he went right back to just being like, hey, how's it going? I'm good. I picked him right up. He didn't think he needed to attack me or nothing.
Stories like this is why I'm a creep and I stand outside the tub and watch.
Yeah. Matt, we're using Chrome if you can hear me, man. I am anyways. I don't know. I think
yeah,
yeah. I tried downloading Chrome onto my phone and it was giving me the whole
man.
So hopefully this works. I tried putting it on the Wi-Fi, but I might be coming in and out.
Yeah, no, it's all right, man. It says here that you got the low FPS, but that's fine. We noticed that you're trying. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem.
I was just going over how I do things. I actually have a camera in there so that if my animals ever fight, I can pull them on out. And I will put them in there and leave them there, and I have the little camera in the background so that I can, look but I don't sit there and stare at it. Okay, I know Adam's probably thinking that, but I'm not. I don't do
I
that.
don't stare either like a creep, but I just kind of like hang right there, kind of just keeping an eye out. And then once I see them doing their thing, then I just kind of let them be and go back and separate them then. Because I'm terrified. That's what I'm terrified of, is that something's going to happen. And I'm going to either
Yeah.
lose the gecko or lose the tail, which isn't the end of the world if it happened, but if I can prevent it, I want to prevent it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, look, you seen what I went through with the one gecko I had, Joe, and off
Yep.
to the vet we'll be going, and those are expensive vet bills. So
Oh yeah.
if we can prevent them, we're going to prevent them. 14 days of injections was not fun.
Yep. But I mean, it's really neat to hear that you'll go through that.
Oh, absolutely, because they're
For animal.
they're my hobby, but they're also my pets, my responsibility. So
Yeah.
they need to go to the vet. They're going to go to the vet. But if I can prevent something from happening, I will.
If I can prevent the vet from happening, I will. So, I will read endlessly and learn and figure out how to measure. Like I didn't know what a CC is. My wife's a nurse. I hear her say the word. I've seen an episode or two of Grey's Anatomy, and so when it said this many CCs or this many grams, I was kind of like, but you know what? Deworming an animal is expensive, and so it was either don't offer crickets ever, which I'm fine with. Those things are stupid and they smell bad. But I figured out how to do in-house deworming.
Like, yep.
Yeah, in-house deworming is the way to go. I do it twice a year sometimes, and that's whether or not I think that they need it.
Can you speak deeper into that? Because I know we've talked about it, but I'm drawing a blank as to like what you do.
Yeah, no, I can. So in-house deworming, basically your stuff comes in a tube. It's designed for specific animals, and so I use like little cotton swabs, some sort. You can just grab Q-tips. I put a little bit on there, and then what you can do is you can measure it in a cc and a syringe, and then I'll squeeze the syringe onto the cotton swab. There's always a little bit left in there, so what they tell you is when you measure a cc, whatever's left in the syringe was not meant to be a part of it, so it's actually an accurate measurement. And then I just take the cotton swab and I rub it right on the side of the mouth, and they don't want it there. They know it's there. They don't like stuff on their face. If I can get them to open their mouth, I'll kind of it's a cotton, so I just wipe it on the tongue. Never had one spit it out, and then I'll set them down right next to their water, and they will sometimes drink water. And then I keep little plastic cups for water that I toss probably once, sometimes even twice a week. Scott, I'd have to look up the brand Worm Guard. I don't think that's it.
I think it's Safeguard. I think it's a
Yeah,
safe.
yeah, there you go. It is. It's like
I
green.
picked up the same one because that's the one you recommended
Yep.
for
And then I
deworming.
have a video I could always share. And that guy, I'll put it on Discord for everybody. But the guy goes over how to calculate CCs and he uses grams. So he's talking about reptiles and how to do it. And to be honest with you, man, when I first was going to do it, I thought, okay, I think this one might have a problem, so I'm going to deworm the animal. Um, I ended up just doing the whole collection. Everybody got their own Q-tip, obviously. I measured their weight right then on the spot, and it took me days to do it because you can't just do it all in one night. Every animal is going to move differently, act differently, and I got it done in a couple of days. And man, don't do it during breeding season. Your males do obviously need to have their scent in their own box, but I had to. What was left in those boxes afterwards was like, oh, okay, you all did need this, and no more crickets ever. So if I do crickets, I literally will give it a little bit of time. I'll do it like twice, and then I will deworm everything. But I just don't do crickets right now. I do. There's plenty of other feeders that are just as good.
I've never done them, so
Okay.
I don't do crickets either.
yeah.
What about you, Matt? Do you do crickets?
Only for certain animals, but not for the leopard geckos.
Okay.
I use crickets. My some of the frogs that I have some other gecko species that I work with, and also use them for the tree monitors.
Okay, and they probably handle that a little better.
As far as what goes,
Pinworms, things like that, things that crickets,
yeah, um, yeah.
Okay. Let me see here. So another one of the topics I wanted to bring up, if we can, I'm going to let Matt talk just because he's in and out right now. He's in. We've been having a conversation or two here or there about labeling your animals when you label them for sale, and I kind of want to just go over a couple of those things, like well, what to look out for, and how people feel about it, and how people might think about it or react about it. I said one to you the other day, and what's funny is I didn't say anything to the person, but somebody must have, because I went back to look at it, and they completely changed the description. But yeah, I was going to talk about labeling your animals for sale. We just lost Matt, and when he gets back, we'll go for it. But labeling animals for sale is like a touchy subject, I'd say. But for me, it's not a moment where I look at a breeder and I think, oh, that guy's a fuckhead. I don't think like that. What I will definitely think something like, okay, well, that's obviously not labeled correctly. I'm not going to buy that animal or any from that person. So for a while, obviously, I'll check back. I'm not going to permanently ban somebody from my brain, but what do you guys think when you see stuff like that? When you see labeling, that's what kind of labeling is good? What's bad? What do you look for?
Words I've never heard before.
Fancy.
Yeah, made up stuff. That's always a good one.
Yeah.
It usually seems to be pretty obvious. The longer the amount of information is in the header, the worse it usually is. Using a lot of trigger words to sell the animal, because it's it's like 8 generations removed, red diamond type stuff, but it's still in the label. I'm fine for you to put that in like the note section, but if you're using it as clickbait, it's a quick way to make me not really interested in what you have to offer.
Yeah, for me, if it's in the line, I would put it in the description. So if you're gonna name drop who you got it from, nothing wrong with that. Do that all day. That's an awesome thing to do, actually. Because if I'm interested if I look at the animal and I think I want that, can I work with it? Is my second question. Not just I want that. Let's buy that. What can I do with it? And if it's nothing, I'll literally have an animal that's amazing. Just let it go. I won't buy it. I won't nothing, and I'll have nothing wrong with it. But if you put in there that you got it from, oh, I got the female here and the male there, and this is what they said it was, that's a name drop all day. I like that. That's actually great. But there's little terms that I think they're thrown around quite a bit, like hold back release, right? I remember making that mistake, and then I wrote it, and I was writing it again.
That drives me nuts.
Yeah, and I was sitting there as I was writing it. I remember thinking to myself, "Am I just using filler words?" Kind of like when people say all the time, And I realized if you haven't bred it, it's not a holdback release. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to go through everything in my store, and somebody for sure probably thinks I'm an asshole if I just kind of thought that about me. And it is what it is. Nobody ever called me out or said anything horrible, but I look for that word and I'm thinking holdback release. At least to me, my opinion is this is my animal. I'm breeding it. It's in a rotation, so I'm holding it back for those things. Not I bred animals this year and I made 8, and I'm keeping these 5, and then in 6 months I'm going to sell them because I need money. Like these 5 are not holdback releases. You know what I mean? They were just things you bred, and it's part of your projects, sure, but it's definitely not a holdback release.
I imagine that obviously there's probably some people that are using it as a marketing ploy just to say that it came out of their something they were keeping back. But just to play devil's advocate here, they could potentially be using it in a sense of forgive me for a second. Emphasizing that it's something that they would have likely bred or kept or something like that. So
Yeah,
that's a good
but
point.
I personally wouldn't write that on anything. It would probably go if something like that were to happen, which I actually have not put any animals out there that I ever if it has like a 5% chance of coming into my rotation, it's still in my racks right now. But like, you know, if you saw like one of my nicer firebolts pop up, I might say something along the lines of like, this is a good example of what comes out of, you know, my particular collection. Like this is in the top 5% of my animals, you know.
Yeah.
Something along that line, just to play with it, because I will say that I would say in general it's just people using words, but I've definitely seen some animals that I'm like, yeah, that's a smash animal, like that thing's amazing.
Yeah.
When I see it, it kind of makes me think that, like, I think you touched on it, Josiah, hyping the animal up. And then I want to know, why are you selling it if it's a holdback quality for you? But I'm kind of curious why are we getting rid of it?
Yeah.
Matt, talk.
Hey, Matt.
All right. It's on a different like browser, so I had to download Firefox and Chrome and all these other ones. So hopefully this one works.
Well, I appreciate your efforts, man.
Yeah, because you
Have you guys
definitely
have you guys been hearing me swear on my end, or did the mic
No, you dropped completely. Thank God, too, huh?
because my phone almost
We'll
went
just
into my neighbor's place here. But
Yeah,
let's hope this works now.
Yeah, we're actually talking about obviously labels, like when you label your animals for sale, and just different things. Like we just touched on holdback release. You know, if you haven't bred the animal, I kind of had a point where, you know, it's one of those things where I don't think it's a holdback, or it never was. Josiah had a good point. You know, they're just probably telling you they wanted to keep it. What do you think about specific labeling and how it makes a breeder look?
I mean, there's so many different ways people label stuff. It's incredible, and over the years, like I've seen so much different things. If anything, I think I underlabel. But then, you know, if people ask me about specific animals, I can show them the parents, grandparents, all that stuff. I try to have as much genetic information as possible in there, but now with all the polygenetic stuff that I work with, it's honestly, like labeling stuff Joker Project is almost like the most generic name I can come up with, so that, like, you know, I can put a name on Morph Market basically. Because I don't think it's fair to anything, you know, saying, oh, it's a red stripe or bold stripe or even clown, because clown isn't a genetic, it's a polygenetic line bred thing. So in my opinion, it's very hard to, at least from what I personally do, it's different than most, just because it is so, at this point in my career, like so much polygenetic stuff that my labeling might be different than other people's. I think whenever it comes to like different tangerine lines and stuff like that, it's always good to give credit to where credit's due, and, you know, stuff like Firebolt or whatever, so that you kind of know what's in it. But again, it's like one of those weird things. You take a tangerine and a Firebolt and cross them together. Like you could say Mandrian crossed a Firebolt, and it might look like poo. You know what I mean? Especially that first generation. And it's hard to. What a lot of people need to understand is that, you know, no matter what the label is, the gecko is going to have a specific look. I mean, I kind of touched on it before about, like, you know, clown / Joker Project stuff, or even firebolts or tangerines. Like anything that's polygenetic and line bred, there is your A quality stuff and your B quality stuff and your C quality stuff, and then your dog shit. And that's just kind of how it is. And, you know, people that, you know, buy a D grade tangerine that's, you know, whatever, insert your line here, and, you know, breed that animal to whatever, and then they they're like, oh, but it's, you know, that line of tangerine. It's like, well, not really. I mean, it's a D grade of that, like it, you know, and that's at the end of the day, the animal is the selling point, and you got to go off of looks, not names. And you know, a lot of people are going to try to put lipstick on a pig, and it just isn't gonna, you know, it's still a pig. Like, you know.
So if you look at some of the other morph hobbies, I'm just gonna list names. I'm not speaking specifically, but like koi fish, guppies, things like that. If you look at how they make their names for their fish, if they, and I'm not trying to correlate this into leopard geckos, I understand that it's its own unique kind of sphere of like information, how we interpret morphs and stuff. But just to expand the scope on other hobbies that are doing something very similar, if you look at like guppy breeders and when they breed something together, you're gonna if it's fair, if it's been line bred for several years, you're gonna get mostly that, but you're also gonna get some like Matt was saying, like D quality stuff out of those. They don't label them those animals. They stop right there because it doesn't look like that what it was supposed to look like. They've bred them to look like a specific thing, and because it's polygenetic, you're gonna get some variation in it, regardless of how good the parents were. And the D grade stuff doesn't go out onto the marketplace as the premium mandarin. Like a terrible looking mandarin would not end up on the marketplace like that. But polygenetics is weird in that sense, because you don't you're not necessarily going to get what you expect out of them every single time.
Okay.
And also touching on that too is like, you know, there are certain things that you can get D quality of something. Say it's like first generation crosses or whatever, and they don't look great at all. But whenever you cross those things back to each other, that's whenever the magic happens, if you will. So it's a difficult thing, honestly, because you know you might have you know, a couple animals that don't look the best, but they throw amazing stuff. And you kind of need to know the past history of genetics, of, you know, the parents and stuff like that to be able to.
But wouldn't you say that's mostly when we're dealing with like cross polygenetics versus something that's been line bred for several generations without being outcrossed?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because I'm just to clarify, you know, if we're talking about a leopard gecko that's been crossed for 10 generations and you breed and you're still breeding them back together, which that's a whole nother subject, but this is regularly happens in this hobby. So we're talking about an animal that's 10 generations out from the original base set of animals, and now it's been line bred like that. You breed those animals together, you would expect mostly what those animals look like. I mean, that's a lot of generations of line breeding. You're still going to get some animals out of there that are just terrible looking. And that's I'm not saying that they couldn't produce nice things as well, but like any regular breeder, like you wouldn't keep that like that many generations. But you would never. You would put it out on the market. Like you don't need that. Do you not agree?
Yeah, I would definitely agree on that. And you know, that's definitely where it gets tricky because of I think you would even agree to this, that like tangerine, you almost have to look at tangerine different than something like, say, a firebolt, because you know, like with your experience with the firebolts and how you've even said to me, where the more orange you get it, the less bold it is, and then you know the more bold, you kind of the less orange. And you know, I definitely see that in a lot of you know, Joker project stuff as well, but trying to get that fine balance and then trying to replicate it, you know, generation after generation. And I'm sure you've even seen with firebolts where, you know, you can definitely, you know, even strict line breeding, like you're saying, you can get like animals that are kind of off.
Unfortunately for my firebolt collection, they're not refined enough. You know, I'm still only like one or two generations from the original breeder, and obviously I was buying his D stuff for the most part. Like, I did not buy his. I bought the best examples that he was putting out onto the market, but I know what he has in his racks. Like, I know what the parents were like. Like, they're not like these ones that I bought, but they still throw them. So I'm curious to see what happens over time. As I find the more bold and orange ones, which they do pop out. It's not like it's a zero-sum thing. But there's definitely a correlation between how hypoed out they are and how orange they are versus how bold they are and how lackluster in color they are. It's very clear. But they do pop out. So I'm curious as time goes on as how much that would get refined down to like what I would expect a perfect firebolt would look like.
I've got that actually kind of made me think of a question. Probably Matt will be able to answer it the best. So when I think of a firebolt, I obviously, I don't know if you guys have ever been to the reference sheet on John's website from Gecko. He has like an area where he's listing all the different combo morphs and things like that. With that, I started reading, obviously a couple of things because I work with firebolts, and I understand them to basically be obviously a crossed animal. They're crossed a specific way, but they are a bold tangerine of sorts. And I know that their main tangerine lineage, according to this, is Afghan tangerine. So I guess my question is, how many times do you breed your firebolt to cross firebolt? Let's see, to something else, and then back to it before it's no longer a firebolt. Because obviously it's not being line bred anymore, unless of course you are also line breeding. But when does it become that you cross the red diamond to a Tremper tangerine, and now it's no longer a red diamond. Red diamond was something that was created in Italy, and then refined again in the States. So when would you say it's no longer a firebolt?
First generation. I mean, that's just the way it is. It's now a cross between two different lines of animals. It's a bit of a loaded question though too. I don't really particularly enjoy this question because
You're gonna like it.
You go. What did you gonna say?
I said you're gonna take it and you're gonna like it.
Look, if we're dealing with polygenetics here, that's what most of us do. That's where the hobby has generally moved. Obviously, influenced with more traditional genes. But if they're polygenetics, it all pretty much is what it looks like, is what it really is boiling down to. So if you're taking a line that has been together for several generations and you're crossing it to something else, it's no longer that thing anymore, and it's never gonna be that thing anymore.
Yeah.
You can put it in its description. It's from its lineage. It's from its background. It has the DNA that created that. But as soon as you cross it once, like, it's becoming its own thing. Now, I think that's an easier question than the question is, when does it become its own thing? That is.
So immediately,
I can tell you what I think of it, but you could push me off that hill so fast, like it wouldn't matter.
Immediately, it's its own thing. I kind of think the same way. And I don't know if you've ever seen some of the firebolts. I have a few from John, and I got a lot from Joe Yingling over at Lake Erie Leopard Geckos. And I mean, anytime he crosses them out or he puts a different something else in there, I just have to keep in mind what the cross is, because I know it's not exactly what it was intended to be. Was it Luca or was it Carlo Maya who put those together? I can't even remember at this point. I remember reading about
what
it.
gene are we talking here?
Firebolt.
I don't think it was either one of them, actually, if I'm not mistaken.
Here, let me read.
I believe it was an Italian. I might be.
I was having trouble finding it. I
don't actually know, but I'm pretty sure it was an Italian breeder that made up Firebolt, and they got the collection got bought out. That's my memory, but don't quote me. So
I got John's thing. I finally found it. You scrolling through that page of his is a little difficult, but I got to it. It says Firebolts are a very special line-bred tangerine bold. Originally created by Italian breeder Carlo Maya, the original male to start the project was an electric bandit. Cross produced by Monsoon Reptiles. Carlo then bred him into Afghan tangerine, red stripe, hyperzantic, and various tangerines. I don't know if I said that last one correctly. Xanthic. In 2013, I took on the project. as well and mixed them into my best tangerine bolds, which consisted of gecko genetics and bandit lines. Since then, I have been line breeding them to what they are today. So I know his line breeding one are, the Firebirds. But so I guess it wasn't Luca, but it was definitely Carlo.
I think Luca was the Red Diamonds, if I'm not mistaken.
You're right. That's why his name stuck. It's
Was Luca also Mandarin, or at least refined them to what we know Mandarin to be today? Is that?
I don't believe so.
Mandarin was Gecko Genetics, wasn't it?
Oh well, they were rebranded.
No, Mandarin.
Yeah, they were rebranded basically.
Sorry, yeah. Mandarin was. You're right. Ray Roner.
Yeah.
He had an animal named Mandarin, and that line is just—they're all descendants of that one animal. Same with Zorro bandits. Zorro was his animal.
Probably Barry Gardner did the most with the Mandarins, though, I would think, from Only Times.
States. I don't know what's going on anywhere else.
Yeah, but I think he's even the one that got some of the people to have them in Europe, and that's kind of where the No Desire came out. Is there?
He bought, I think, he bought most of his animals from Luca, though, and I think he got his Mandarins from Luca. That's why I was questioning.
Oh, really? Oh, I don't know. That was whenever. That's whenever I was not in the industry.
Yeah, I wasn't either. So like, I'm trying not to overspeak here, but I do think I'm right on this a little bit. So I do think he got him from a little bit. Yeah, maybe negative. So
I don't know.
Yeah, but if we go to current facts, he very definitely has the Mandarin market as of now. Like I think he's the one that people look to when they're looking at Mandarin. I bought one.
I gotcha. Tangerines. There are a lot of different tangerines, and it's one of those where almost how do you know what you want to breed with? I know that I don't personally always love what comes out of Mandarin, and it's because of the NDBE that I don't want to accidentally have end up in there when you're testing for another recessive, of course. Damn, he lasted a long time that time, guys. So whatever he was doing, it was working. But I like the tangerine tornadoes. Now, it's so funny because everybody has their opinions, but tangerine tornado is probably my favorite tangerine, and it's because of the tail. It's mostly carroted. I had somebody reach out to me who said, "Hey, where did you get this animal?" And I said, "Well, I got it from the Urban Reptile." And then it was like, not interested. But this was a person who knew everything about those animals. Whoever it was, I'm not going to say their name, but they knew, like, where else would you get a tangerine tornado? That's who coined that line. So anyway, I got mine directly from them, which means it was once removed. I don't know why there's so much controversy. I also don't really care. Tangerines are tangerines. And I like the animals I got. They work well within my projects. And if you have a tangerine tornado, you have an urban reptile animal. No matter how else you spin it, no matter who bred it. I have some that I bred. Their descendants come straight from Canada. And so, yeah, they blend well with other things. They also have the where they put the Mandarin tangerine and the Zorro bandit together, and those blend well as a bold tangerine. But they all end up with NDBE, all of them. I've never had one not have it, and I literally have bought several and tried to work with them, and then you breed them. The first year, they all pop out. So that's a thing about that. Matt, you had brought up that you wanted to discuss political correctness versus reality. Whatever screen you're on now, man, it worked for a long time that time.
I know. And I said no more.
Yeah. You caught my attention before we were talking with political correctness versus reality within breeding and within keeping. whether you're a keeper or a breeder. Do you want to touch on that a little bit about what you were talking about?
Basically, there's the political correctness of what a lot of breeders will put out there, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's exactly what's happening. And I think it's, you know, a lot of breeders are very scared to say that they do certain things or that might be controversial. And I feel like as a whole, the industry is kind of like Instagram, where there's definitely everybody kind of shows the best part of everything, but they never show some of the realities of everything. And there definitely is another side to social media that the ugly part of breeding that it's not every baby is going to be perfect. Not every pairing is going to go to plan. Not every, it's, everybody makes it seem like it's, very, very easy to do this. And, every baby's going to be healthy and you're never going to have an issue. You're never going to have a male that prolapses his hemipenes, or you're never going to have a female that gets egg bound, or you're never going to have a female that seems to be fucking sterile, or a male that seems to be sterile. There is a lot of this stuff that people think that, I had actually sold some animals, wholesale animals at a show. They happened to be ovulating, and a couple months later, that person that bought them was like, I never got any good eggs out of those animals that I got from you. And I was like, at some point, it's not, kind of my issue if you didn't get any fertile eggs. Like, did you put a male in with them? Like, I mean, there's a lot of things to it. And
Just when it was getting good.
Hey, there's nothing to it, is what he was getting at.
Oh, no. Damn it. What?
I think we lost Joe's audio there for a second.
No, yeah, I lost you.
he's on mute.
Yeah, I was. I was following your idea. You had a good idea, and then I forgot to undo your idea. You see, no, I'm going with what Matt was saying. He's actually. Did you want to finish, Matt? Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you.
Sure. I mean, it's just one of those things where I think a lot of people think that everything is perfect, and they're not going to have any issues. And it's almost like one of those things that if they were to post anything about any issue, they might get crucified for it. And social media is a great tool, but it can also be a killer as well. So
yeah. The crucifixion thing, you're right about that. That is a weird thing in our hobby that I do not understand. I also don't subscribe to it. I really don't give a shit who doesn't like me. I hope nobody doesn't like me, but at the same time, like, I don't really care, because I don't do anything wrong. If I make a mistake, I mean, that's going to happen. But at the same time, when you're keeping animals, I told this story a little bit ago, and I always was worried about telling anybody about that. But I remember wanting to reach out, and somebody told me, "Hey, you shouldn't tell anybody about that." And I'm like, well, but I told the story about the animals that I had that fought, and the male killed the female. And yeah, like, I just talking to the first person I called who didn't really, I've never seen that before. I can't really help you. I wouldn't tell anybody else about that. I was instantly like, well, why? I'm looking to see if there's anything I can do in the future to see it ahead of time, because I thought, like, hot females are going to attack. They attack you, they attack the other male. Just don't put them together, right? But this one was not that. and she was ovulating. It's not like I'm new at this. I know what ovulating is. And there was the argument with the guy that I had, and I remember getting mad, and I put some ignorant ass video on social media. It was a while ago, and a couple people reached out. Hey, buddy, you all right? Like, don't jump. But it was just he was going after me, and he was going after a couple other people about keeping animals in racks, and that's when it really got me thinking. Like, okay, I put the animals together. I had a bright idea. Okay, if I put a bigger male in there, that's really going to be the difference. I think that that little hypothesis I came up with, him being bigger than her means he's going to be able to pair with her better than what I wanted her to pair a different way, but she wouldn't 3 years going. So I made a mistake there, but I didn't know the difference, and I had no clue she would attack him. Um, but then it was like there was a dude that was talking to breeders about how we don't offer. Well, I can't even think of the word he used, but like anything good to our animals. They don't stay in a cage. They don't have any like good life. They just live in a rack system, and that's not good for them. And I was sitting there thinking, like, if you were to catch these things in the wild, they live in smaller areas. They live in worse conditions in the dirt, and they get eaten, and they have all these things, and that's nature. That's how life is. So when we're keeping them and we have them in a rack system, I didn't see the problem, and it just he wouldn't stop, and it made me think about what had happened, and I was thinking, no different than I keep animals in racks as opposed to nature because I want them to be a part of my life, and they're pets to me, and how I keep them is my business. I take really good care of my animals. They cost a fortune to keep. I mean, supplements, all that. I don't mess around with my animals. Um, and some of them, like I actually will put them in a V35 tub, which is a 27 quart tub, and I will notice that they're not thriving there. So I have to move them down into a 12 quart tub, and then all of a sudden they're happy again. And so it just doesn't matter the size of the animal. If that animal wanted to be in something smaller, you can tell by its character. And I just, like the bottom line that I was making in that one video, I remember, was that we're taking them outside of nature. And if they're not going to exist outside, and you're not going to just have them run around your backyard and throw food to them out there, if you put it in a tank, for its enjoyment, I don't know how you interviewed your gecko and that that it's having enjoyment, but I know that some of mine are really docile, nice. They love to be picked up, everything. But you're taking it away from its home, and you're keeping it, whether it's in a rack system or its own enclosure tank that you have a visual on it. And I just didn't see the difference. I don't see. I don't know. What about you?
I agree with you, but I think that I like your little kiddie pool idea, and I took that from you.
Which one?
Just give them the kiddie pool, give them a
Oh, did
little
you?
exercise area, and I feel like it gives them some enrichment, throwing them in a little kiddie pool, letting them kind of run around, check things out. But honestly, I won't go any smaller than a 12 quart
Yeah.
for my geckos, and I think that they're happy. I don't really feel like it's a big deal either.
Yeah.
But I'm iffy going to the social media thing. I'm a newer breeder. You guys know that. I'm iffy posting things, asking questions because I see so many people just going after each other. And it's like, why? We all want the same thing for our geckos, right? We all want, to make the hobby better and et cetera. So why go after each other? That's why I'm grateful I have the three of you that, I know if I have a question or if I need help with something that I can easily text any three of you and say, hey, Joe, you and I talk probably the most, but I know I can ask any of you guys for some advice and you're not going to crucify me for making a mistake because I know I've made some mistakes. But Joe, especially, I mean, I've corrected anything that started off. I started off on the wrong foot. I started off with the wrong question.
You're
I
talking about your Voldemort mistakes?
yes. So I've made some mistakes, but I want to do what's right for my animal, and I'm going to continue to do what I have to do for them. But the whole social media is good and bad. I mean, I think we need it for the hobby, we need it to, at times to get rid of our animals and things. People need to know who you are because me personally, I'm iffy from buying from somebody that doesn't have a reputation out there because honestly, I don't know what I'm going to get. That was one thing. I don't know if what I'm getting is what I'm being told. So I think it's good and bad with the social media.
Yeah,
I'm a newer breeder. That's coming from a newer person, in the hobby. And
yeah, I'll see that sometimes, and it doesn't matter to me who it is. I will literally, like, I'll be like, ugh, like, oh, did you really have to talk to them that way? Kind of they didn't really do much wrong. You could have mentored, you could mentor them.
well,
And,
that's
and
just
honestly, you could tell somebody they fucked up just by telling them, and hey, this was a huge mistake on your part. Let's talk about it. You got a minute? No. When do you have a minute? I'll make time. And nobody's perfect. I hope that if somebody was like, hey, you're not doing this right, that they would put aside some time to explain what they're talking about, and why.
But on the same token, Joe, you also, us, we have to take that responsibility to be receptive to that and want to hear somebody else's side. I mean, we may not still agree,
Yeah.
but if you come to me and you said, Jen, this isn't really the right way to go about this, here's my advice, I have to want to hear that. And I know there's some people in the
That's
hobby
true.
don't want to hear it. They just think what they're doing is right, and they don't want to hear anything that anybody has to say. But it is, it's tough for a newer person. I'm sure I'm not the only one, who feels that way. MPA Geckos says they agreed too. I think is what I saw.
And then Clint had asked a question. He said, what's y'all's favorite average? What's y'all's average clutch on fertile eggs per female?" Clint, it depends on how many times you pair them. So I usually will get about 6 to 8, and if you after the third clutch pair them again, it'll go on. So like I that's right around the sweet spot. Third clutch goes in, you pair them again, and it'll keep going. Like I've had some produce 18 eggs was the most, and then some that produced 1 egg. So you just have to know that. Welcome back,
Yeah,
Matt.
I only paired once last year with everybody, and I had some. I got 8, I think, out of one girl, and then one girl only gave me 2, and I think I had one girl that didn't give me anything. So
Yeah.
that's fact.
Yep. There he is.
Let's see how long.
Yeah. No, but the political correctness versus reality thing.
He's gone
Oh,
again.
boy. Edit it. Um, yeah, I'm gonna have to get a time when because Matt does have a laptop. I'll have him back on another one soon because we want to get some obviously words from him. Let's see here. Hopefully, Clint, I was able to answer your question all right. You're probably gonna have eight minimum if you only pair once. I would say you should anticipate 8. You don't have to incubate everything that comes out. That's another one of those political correct things. I had somebody scream at me when I said that, and I still said it again, just because. I mean, I'm not going to lie. You don't have to incubate everything that comes out. I mean, what if you miss it, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Some females will lay without breeding, anyways. Like some of them will develop
Yeah.
infertile eggs and just lay them. So I don't see the problem with tossing eggs if you have to. Like now, if you're breeding them 2 or 3 times in a season and then you're throwing them away, I'm like, well, you probably could have just
that's
avoided
yeah,
5 pairings. Now, me personally, I only do 1 pairing. Like if
just the one.
yeah. Now, granted, if they lay like 2 sets of infertile eggs, then I'll pair them again. But if they got fertile eggs, that's it. Like they don't get paired again for the season. And like you said, like 6 to 8 is probably average. But I mean, I've had up to 20 eggs out of a female with 1 pairing.
Really?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I have 1 female that's done it twice for me. One of my Vander Tangerines.
I just thought of one of those labeling things we were talking about a minute ago, and I want to share this one because it's one of those that once I say it, I think it'll be an anonymous agreement. If you have it, and I'll have to go check. I'm gonna have to go check my stuff to make sure I'm not doing it myself. But if you have it and it says in the description TSF or TSM, and the animal is like and then it says underneath that it's 55 grams. At that point, you can tell whether or not it's male or female. So you probably not just put TSF or TSM and write down what it is. So, if I see something like that, oh, it's a temperature sex female, 55 grams, I kind of instantly don't want to buy it. That's one of those real quick things that.
I mean, I think at 20 grams, it's pretty.
That's when you can usually tell, like, what is it, 15 to 20?
I think you're not used to it. Yeah, 20 grams is when I really pay attention to it.
Yeah.
There goes Madigan.
Yeah, he's trying hard. I really I'll have to thank him later. I appreciate him trying to be here from the Orlando show. Are you guys going to be going to that show or vending down there?
I thought about it, but I don't really want to make the drive this weekend. We got a vet appointment tomorrow, so.
Yeah, Josiah?
Yeah. I'm not going to go, no. I have animals that I could sell and stuff. Repticon's kind of hard to get into, though, right now, or at least has been as far as getting a table. But once you get a table, I guess it's fairly easy to keep getting one. But it's just something but it's like per show as well. So like the Orlando Tampa shows, which are the big Repticon shows. If you don't already have a table, you better hope like one opens up so that way you can get it. But you get first pick the next one. So, but luckily I have friends that'll allow me to, if needed, split some costs.
Yeah.
You can get on a table and stuff. So maybe I'm taking advantage of that. And that's why I'm not pursuing stuff. Maybe these guys are making me lazy is what they're doing.
Yeah. But, sorry, Matt's asking me about resolution. I was going to try to answer him real quick. Yeah, so he's going to try to drop his screen down to 720. I think I had Jen do that earlier too.
Yeah.
So, but he's really trying hard to get in here. It worked for a while.
Mine was just lagging when I tried to do the virtual background. So you guys get to see my hornworm page that I'm working on. Some hornworms.
It's really cool, actually. You do a lot of bugs. I
do a lot of bugs.
I want to grow up to be just like you. I want to have my own breeders.
I know, Josiah. I'm sorry. I don't do those kind of bugs, okay? I do mealworms.
It pays more to kill them.
I know. I do isopods, and we're trying out hornworms. They're so expensive, but they're really good treats. So I've got about 22 cocooned, pupate, whatever you want to call them, worms back behind me, waiting for them to merge into moss. So.
That's I know it's not simple to breed hornworms, so.
No, and we've made it this far, and so far, they're, like I said, I 22. I did 22 just in case, about 125. I let 22 of them grow full size, stuck them in the dirt when it was time. Now they're these ugly looking things. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. So
they have the, what's it called?
Yeah, it's like I can't remember exactly.
Right? Is proboscis?
I can't remember exactly what it's called, but
yeah. But it's got a loop on like the.
Do you want to see one?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Right, hold on.
Of course we do.
She shuts her camera off, leaves her mic on. Perfect.
Well, I don't want my butt yell.
I think Matt had his speaker on at least. No, it's back off again.
I just don't want my butt in your face.
And checks out. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Anytime. So here's a couple of them. I don't know if you can see
at those things. They look fake.
They're creepy as hell.
Oh, it's wiggling. Look at it. It's wiggling.
It still wiggles. Yeah, they still, even when they pupate, they still wiggle. So it's quite interesting. But this is the little thing you're talking about.
Yeah.
And they're actually, what's really interesting about these guys is they're like the hummingbirds of moss. They're like hummingbirds of moss. So they have the really long, they feed like moss. So you see the little thing hanging up there. It's a hummingbird feeder. So that's what the nectar will be in. But yeah, so I'm hoping they lay 50 to, I think, like 200 eggs and like the 2-3 weeks that they're alive. So fingers crossed, we get some good ones.
They're supposed to be an amazing feeder, if I remember correctly.
They're really full. I think they're like 85% of moisture, if I recall right. So it's just a really good.
And they're like way higher protein in comparison to other larvae. right?
Yeah, see them wiggling? They're
Oh,
really creepy.
Yeah.
look at
They're
that.
kind of cool.
Look at
If
that.
you ever, when you feed them off, even if you're tongue feeding, it's like watching a crackhead,
Oh my God, they go
Oh, they
crazy.
love them.
And
Yeah.
I think they're better than like waxworms. Like I tried the whole waxworm. We did farm the waxworms, but they kept getting out, and they're like little maggots when they're really really small. So I kind of was like, we're not going to do that anymore. I let those go to waste. But yeah, so this is just a new project we decided to do. So kind of weird, but interesting.
I attempted it once when I was a teenager. That was it.
Did you?
That was the end of that. I was like, you know what? Don't need to do that again. Now I understand why they're so expensive. Like seriously, like if anybody like complains about it, you should have no complaints.
They're expensive as hell to feed and to raise up to even get to this point. And when I tell you, I mean, you guys see what they eat when you buy them in the little containers in the store. Okay, you're talking just a dozen of them eats that food in no time. Imagine 125 of them. So, yeah. Let's see.
So when you get them from the store, they have it in this stuff that looks like peanut butter. What is that?
peanut butter.
That is,
Oh,
it's
right?
actually, I don't know exactly what all it's made of. I buy the Rapashi Superhorn, I think is what it's called, but it's just a chow. So you just kind of boil the water, mix it in with it, let it solidify, and they eat that. They say you can do like potatoes and other things like that, but it's just easier just to cook that shit. And
Man, I'd almost just rather eat the potatoes myself. I don't know.
Right, instead of feeding them to them. So, but apparently it has everything they need. And I mean, they grew pretty fast. I mean, within a week, I think most of them started to get big enough to where, I mean, you make fun of me for my long ass fingers, Joe, but they were like almost as long as my fingers. So,
Hold your hand back up.
Josiah, he says
This is a regular hand. See Josiah's hand? Oh, there we go. That's what a hand looks like. That's what a hand's supposed to look like. Yeah.
So Joe says that I can flick him off and the person behind him off at the same time.
Pretty much.
That's the shit he gives me. So, real nice. Real nice, Joe.
Well, I'm not sorry. It's just me telling.
Did this guy go outside?
Yeah, I think he did. You go for a walk, Matt?
Yeah, we're going for a walk and seeing if that.
Oh man,
it's so funny.
Yeah, he's trying so hard.
He is. You got to give him credit. He's not.
Dude, out of all of us, Matt has been here the least, but he's put the most credit in, and I can't wait for him to see this later. Or sorry, the most effort in, not credit. He's put the most effort in than any of us. And once and go from there. Thanks.
For sure.
Just reading Clint's thing.
Yeah, I'm reading.
He's worried about having too many pop out. Yeah, give me a call later on, like tomorrow or something, Clint. We'll go over what you're going to pair. See if we can't come up with a good idea. I'd like to be a part of that.
Joe's got some good ideas.
Sometimes I get some from other people.
Well, you know what I got in my collection, so
yeah.
For you to help me with mine.
I wanted to take a second here, and I wanted to plug somebody. You ever hear of that, where you plug somebody? I'm going to do that, but I'm going to have to move us to do it, and well, maybe not. Let me try this. I'll just do that, and then we'll screen share. Give me 1 second, Jen. I'll get you back on here in just a moment. Let's see here. No. Here it is. Okay. Boom. Everybody hear about this yet? Wanted to make sure that people know what it is. And then I literally just buried it.
You just put my face all big in the screen. Telling my kids.
You're back on here. I had to switch transition, however you want to call it. So you got the Breeders' Cup. This is Scott's thing. Everybody know Noble Family Geckos. I don't know when it's kicking off again this year, if it has or not already. I'm sure he's talking in the comments. I cannot see them. Sorry, Scott.
Yes, he is.
while I'm plugging, but cool. Yeah, this is actually a really cool thing. My favorite part about it is just sending photo after photo after photo and then bugging him. Hey, man, you haven't gotten to my photo yet. And then he has to get it up there because he promised he would. So no matter what you send him to, he's never wrote back and said, hey, that's trash. You can't enter it. And there definitely was a winner last year. He had some really credible Sky, you had some incredible judges. Bubba's Gecko, I think, won. Bubba's Geckos, yeah. So, and he had I'm trying to see the one that he actually put up. It was between these three. He would be if you look here, it would be this one on the top left, A over here. That's the gecko that won. That's pretty cool. Scott, who are your judges for 2024, and where do I find them? Go ahead and type them in, man, and I'll announce them for you. If you're not following him over on Instagram, go check this one out. It's US_Breeders' Cup. It's a pretty cool little thing. You don't have to, worry about it too much. And you can see here that he plugs a couple of things like his finalist, the old Inside the Hide plug. Obviously, he's not plugging Geckoverse yet, which is really great. Really appreciative of that, Scott. I super appreciate you. Morphtastic podcast. That's the one that's out in the UK. I've actually seen an episode of that. So, but yeah, I wanted to go and plug something. So that's the one I wanted everybody to see, just so I can help Scott out. Scott, who are your judges, man? If you let me know, I'll announce them on here. I'm trying to put people back where they were.
Also, if you need any help, Scott, with the hornworms, let me know.
Oh, there you go. How am I doing this? There we go.
I tried to help Joe with the mealworms, but he didn't.
Oh, do you want to know what happened to my mealworms? You know that I had a last minute move. I had a last minute move. We had a facility that was basically I almost could call it rent free, and it was 1,200 square feet. I mean, 5 different rooms. We were super happy in there. I had a lot going on in that, and then we ended up having to move. No choice there. So quick move. I brought them mealworms. It wasn't a very hot day, so I brought them from where they were growing out in the tubs I had them in, and I set them down in the back area outdoors where we're going to, and we went and picked up a load of stuff, came back, and there was every bird in that vicinity just eating every single mealworm we just started up, and so they were gone. How was your walk, man? Was it a good walk?
So there was a hell of a lot of birds there.
Oh, dude, I lost the whole.
At least it's not cold out.
Yeah. I was saying that you're putting the most effort in out of all of us, and we're staying on the entire time.
I know, right? The fucking mouse does not want me to be doing this right now.
Yeah.
Well, reception's shitty over there in some areas, so there you go.
I had a thing pop up on my screen when we first started talking about something along the lines of bandwidth and not having the information quality might be dropped, and that's on our laptop. So
yeah,
I had the same thing. So
yeah, so I'm curious. Maybe it's the phone. I don't know.
Yeah, it probably could be, but we definitely had him on, and we'll have him back on. We're pushing 2 hours right now, guys. I wanted to see if anybody else had anything they wanted to go over. If not, I kind of wanted to kind of wrap things up for the night.
No, I didn't.
I mean, we probably do this for several more hours. So that's
yeah. Yep. I've been on the phone with you. Sometimes it's just hard to hang up. You get to talking and you got stuff to say. So
I did pretty good tonight.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, don't go on for 12 minutes.
Yeah.
You're full of so much, Josiah. It's nice to listen to you sometimes.
Full of crap,
I haven't been able to really
and other stuff.
Well, maybe, but
yeah. Hey, I mean, like I said, we I would love to be on again. But yeah, I whenever you're ready, man. Because otherwise, if you need a subject, like we can figure that one out too.
Yeah, no, we're definitely going to be. I'm going to be doing quite a few of these. Scott announced it for the new next year, 2024 Breeders' Cup. It's going to be Ron Tremper,
Oh, cool.
Heidi Nielsen of Xeno Gecko Morphs, and Bubba, the last year's winner. So David Pineda.
It'll be fun. I don't think I submitted anything last year, and I should have.
Yeah, you might have won. You let David. You let David take it from you, man. Good job.
Changes everything.
So, but yeah, no, I wanted to say, everybody, thank you so much for coming on and putting up with obviously the delays that we're having going on. Matt tried really hard, obviously, to be on the entire time. And we'll have him on again. He's probably going to hang out over here quite a bit. All of us are. And yeah, I'll be putting together another roundtable here soon enough and dropping some live and not live interviews if you guys want to see, coming up with questions and things like that's what'll take the longest. But I definitely want to do this again soon. I think the 2-hour mark is good, though.
Yeah, I think 2 hours on most podcasts would be pretty good for you, for the podcast.
Yeah. So everybody, with that being said, thank you so much. You guys have a wonderful evening. Jennifer, Josiah, Matt, I know you're going to watch this later. Thank you so much for all your effort, man. I know you were trying really hard to be on here. He's texting me right now, literally, guys. He's trying. Clint just said Matt's going to end up at McDonald's because I guess they have good Wi-Fi. So, all right, guys.
All right.
That's the end of the first one. You'll be seeing us soon.
Hey, look, like a Band-Aid. It's over. It's good.
Yeah, there you go, man.
That was great.
I'm gonna do this. I'm going to do
it was a lot of fun, guys.
I'm not nervous. I'm not nervous, but the whole time.
I wasn't nervous, too.
Oh, no, I talk with my hands.
Go duck away for a couple seconds.
That's how you get rid of being nervous.
I'm not actually here.
You talk with your hands, you know?
Yeah.
Let's see if you can get him to hop on and say goodbye.
Yeah, maybe.
Here goes.
Morph Market pick of the week, huh? It's actually not a bad idea. I think I can see his audio.
Wait! I gotta plug you. Make sure you like, subscribe, click the like button, hit the bell, click all for all notifications. Do it right now.
There you go. Yeah.
All right.
You're welcome, Clint.
Oh yeah. Oh no, there's plenty of comments. We're good.
Is Matt on?
I don't know.
I don't know what
goodbye fast.
I feel like I can hear him, but
can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
we were saying goodbye, man.
We lost him again. We've got the spinning wheel of death there.
I'm gonna hang up and give him a call right now and see what's going on. But thank you guys so much for coming on. Please like and subscribe. We will be going on as often as we can. Roundtables are going to be fun. It's going to be different people all the time. And obviously, I'm definitely going to probably have Josiah and Jen back on, and Matt as well. He does have a laptop, so everybody have a really good night, and I appreciate you coming in.
Have a good night, guys. See ya.
Yeah.